This morning on BRN Retirement, the pulse of the defined contribution retirement plan participant. Part one of our conversation. Joining me now is Greg Jenkins. He's the head of institutional defined contribution for Invesco. Greg, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us in the program this morning.
Hi, Jeff. It's great to be on again today. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on, and you always have some great research findings. I know we're going to get into some of that this morning, but before we do, can you just tee up kind of the origination of the research and what it's covering?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing financial language studies and behavioral research since 2007 at Invesco, and today we've done over 20 studies, with 6 of them completely dedicated to 401k plan issues. And as part of these studies, we've conducted over 70 focus groups, and I've been able to observe quite a few of these over the years, and I can tell you it's been one of the most valuable experiences of my entire career.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the results, and language matters, and what people say and how people interpret it, very important. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's start with the basic question, though, Greg. Based on the study and the survey results, how are participants doing?
Yeah, well, they're doing pretty well, surprisingly. And I also want to give a little bit more background. We found a couple of common themes throughout the years. First of all, the power of personalization. Unlike those of us in the industry, participants don't like to think about retirement and investing in an academic sense. They like to think about their situation, their retirement, their own investments. So using just simple things like using words like you and your is a very easy way to make information feel more personal. And then also just the importance of framing and presenting things in a simple and straightforward way is extremely important. For example, showing investment options in categories. The reverse of this, of course, would be showing 22 investment options in an alphabetical list that I think everyone finds confusing.
Yeah,
so overall, people seem to be doing pretty well. This year, we partnered with Ipsos. We surveyed over 500 participants. And one of the questions we've asked all the way back since 2007, about 6 times over the years, we've asked, do you hope to achieve financial security or financial freedom in retirement? And I love this question because people have to pick one. They can't say, I don't know. And what we found is that financial freedom was at its highest in 2007 when we started, with 40% of people picking it. And it was at its lowest after the financial crisis in 2011 at 19%. In this year's survey, 32% of participants picked financial freedom, up from 27% in 2020. So we're right at about pre-pandemic levels. In 2018, we had about the same number. So that's encouraging. Probably not a surprise. Younger people tend to feel a little more optimistic, tend to skew more towards financial freedom, whereas older participants tend to be a little bit more realistic. Now, anecdotally, our research partners have said that in the 1990s, financial freedom was something that most people thought they could achieve. So things have definitely changed, and it really started to shift somewhere around the internet bubble, and that's where attitudes started to change. But we asked them what was keeping them up at night. And right at the top of the list, no surprise, was inflation at 46%, followed by market ups and downs at just above 20%. Now, surprisingly, we asked about top financial concerns, and again, costs were up at the top of the list, no surprise there. But the surprise was how far ahead rising costs were above issues like job security, which we thought, from other surveys, we thought would come in higher. So healthcare costs, large unexpected expenses, these are the tops at the top of everyone's list. And I think it's important to point out that it's not the inflation rate people are concerned with. It's really the rise in costs that has already occurred going way back to the pandemic. But given those concerns, people seem to be somewhat optimistic about their retirements.
And that's a good thing. And Greg, you talked about the importance of language. You talked about financial freedom and some of the other concepts. What should plan sponsors or employers take away from the survey results when it comes to communicating effectively to their participants, to their employees?
Yeah, so overall, we find that people are very sensitive to language when it comes to financial matters. Our research partners also tell they see the same sensitivity around healthcare issues. So it seems that these issues that affect people and their families personally, where a bad decision might have an adverse impact, that's when people become very sensitive to this language. I think we also have a problem as an industry. Over the years, we have done ourselves a disservice with people using a lot of industry jargon, trying to confuse people, sometimes intentionally, going way back, in the early days of financial services. So, we started off on a bad foot. But we've seen this many times in surveys and also up close in focus groups. Participants are naturally skeptical. And the right words can inspire people to feel more confident, hopefully make good decisions. On the other hand, the wrong words can make people feel bad or skeptical or cause them to shut down. As an example, we found the language used around fees is extremely important. We've been asking questions about fees in surveys for a long time. This year, we asked people which they would least like to pay: fees, commissions, costs, or charges. And the big loser was the word fees at 58%. So 58% would least like to pay that. Even scoring below commissions at 24%. The preferred word is costs, coming in at 7%. And we've heard in focus groups, people agree that everything costs something, everything of value. As it turns out, the word fees has a different meaning than it used to. Now it means something above and beyond costs. So people think of baggage fees at the airport or all those additional fees on your cell phone bill. And plan sponsors should take heed of this and try to avoid using the word fees whenever possible. Sometimes, understandably, sometimes you have to use the word, but avoid it whenever you can. Now, if you're talking about lower fees, that's different. If you're lowering fees, that's a good thing. Another category that I've touched on a couple of times here is just the industry jargon that we use. The words we use with each other in this industry are lost on most people. They're not well understood. The worst words are the synthetic words, the made-up words, like glide path, one of the worst words we've ever tested. At best, jargon is annoying. At worst, it might get people angry or even think they're being deceived.
Yeah, I was going to say my wife doesn't like, she's not from the industry. She certainly doesn't like when I talk about glide path or anything at dinner. It just, we have to completely skip the conversation. Greg, you touched on this. I mean, ours is a very regulated environment. We often work with compliance professionals internally to help make sure, keep us out of compliance jail, keep us out of trouble. Are there lessons, there were lessons for plan sponsors, but are there lessons for our partners in compliance?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question, Jeff, because as much as we want to change the language we're using, it has to be in coordination with compliance in this industry. We have a workshop called a Word Lab, where we help clients incorporate financial language research into their communications. And I would love to tell you this is rocket science, but really it's not. We encourage them to get all their stakeholders involved, from Treasury staff to HR to legal. And a few of our clients have included their compliance professionals. And many times these are people who have never sat in the room together before. When compliance people hear about what the goals are and they see the language research, everything changes. I think far too often in this industry, we give compliance professionals bite-sized pieces to review without really talking about the overall goals or what we're trying to achieve. And so what we find is when everyone's in the same room and goals are aligned and everyone understands what the objective is, everything changes and amazing things can happen. The key is really just getting everyone on the same page.
Yeah, really well said. And Greg, that's a perfect segue. We're going to close out this part of the program. When we come back tomorrow, we're going to pick up the conversation about key investment products like target date funds, which you already talked about. So Greg, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll pick up the conversation tomorrow morning. And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details, of course, at our website. And we're back again tomorrow for part 2 of our conversation with Greg Jenkins of Invesco, the pulse of the DC Defined Contribution Retirement Plan participant. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.